All right, time for the next bit. It's time for one of our favorite segments here on Rockin Robbie Live. It's time for Marvel in the 80s. And today we're talking about The Incredible Hulk 340, written by Peter David with artwork by Todd McFarlane. This is a very famous issue because it is a rematch, if you will, of Wolverine versus Hulk, but it is in fact Grey Hulk. This is during the time when Hulk only became Grey Hulk during night, and he was a little bit less powerful. There was a Fantastic Four story, or it was actually a Hulk story, where Thing shows up, Thing is extra mutated, and Hulk, of course, is weaker as Grey Hulk, and Thing actually finally beat him, and this is a rematch between Wolverine and Hulk in a weird, interesting circumstance of events. So it starts off, we get this weird Peter David type threading throughout the thing of a woman comparing her life to a vicious cycle or circle, and it spins like this snow globe she's watching. It goes all the way through. It just turns out to be Betty. She's sad that the Hulk's not there. She's just thinking about where he is. Anyway, Hulk at this point is Gray. He's going cross-country with this dude named Quartermain and Rick Jones, and Rick Jones is right there, got a Felix the Cat doll in the foreground, so there's Todd McFarlane in his early days always put a Felix the Cat. But they're running around the country dismantling these gamma bombs that are lying around. And Hulk, there's this blizzard going on, and they're in Texas, there's this blizzard going on, and there's a lot of Marvel comics of this era that reference this. And as far as I remember, this is when like the cask of the Ancient Winters or some shit was unleashed in a Thor comic. But he's tired of being in this cooped up van. He decides he's going to just leap off and have some fun. Meanwhile, the X-Men are flying back from a mission. It's Wolverine who is now the leader because Storm is missing. They're trying to find Storm, but it's Wolverine leading an X-Men team of Rogue, Havoc, Dazzler, Psylocke before the ninja assassin stuff, and Longshot. And he's trying to be a good leader. And he gets an alarm. He barely dodges the Hulk. Hulk's like, what's that? Hulk hits an airliner, like an airplane, busts into one of the engines, causes it to explode. The engine lands on Hulk, pisses him off. He's like, what the hell? Wolverine lands. They want to make sure everybody's okay, that it didn't land on somebody or anything like that. And then we cut to the leader. Leader is controlling mentally somebody in the government, trying to figure out where these gamma bombs are. Who cares? And then we got another one of those Betty Brant things, her hands. But then we get the real meat of the story here. Hulk versus Wolverine. Wolverine's on the ground. Hulk's on the ground. Police show up. Hulk's just trying to get some food. They shoot the shit out of Hulk. Doesn't do anything. He's trying to just like throw shit at him. It blows up. His food dies. He just gets pissed. His food dies. His food gets just extinguished. He gets super pissed. Wolverine goes to figure out what's going on with all this commotion. Pulls down his mask. One interesting thing artistically about this book, and I love the Todd McFarlane artwork. We'll get into that after I go through the story. I don't know if this is because Todd didn't ink it this way in certain panels, but usually on the Wolverine mask, you get a darker kind of shading on those fin bits, and it's really weird to see them colored this way, especially compared to when we don't. So Hulk sees Wolverine. He's mad already. He goes after Wolverine. Wolverine slashes him, and they wind up getting into a fight. Now, Wolverine's trying to be the leader. He's trying to be an example. He's trying not to give in to the berserker rage, so he unsheathes his claws, says, I don't want to fight you, Hulk. I'm gonna dip. I'm gonna walk away. Hulk's like, fuck no. So he comes after him, and they wind up getting into a tussle. Notice the great dynamic artwork from Todd McFarlane. We'll get into that. So they wind up getting into this big fight. Wolverine's trying not to give in to this berserker rage, but eventually it does happen. He does one of those thunderclap things, and it almost busts out Wolverine's eardrums, and he starts losing it. He pops his claws. He runs after the Hulk and shanks him Elektra style, or bullseye style, I should say, straight into the gut, thinking he just killed the Hulk. And he does his howl or whatever. The Hulk gets up though. Even though he's weaker, he heals faster. He's getting angrier, and he's He's A-okay, and so the fight resumes. Then we cut back to Rick and this other guy, Quartermain, and they're talking about some bullshit just to let us know that they're still there, plus this whole Betty bullshit that they're doing. Back to the fight. That's why we're all here. It's a nice fight. Like, everybody, like, each one of them is kind of getting one up on one another. Wolverine slashing away, actually using his claws, causing damage. Hulk's knocking the shit out of him. It's a really great fight. Then it comes up into this last bit. This is like the Superman Doomsday bit, right? Where they kill each other, but they come up, and once again, just doesn't it look weird when you don't have the fins shaded that way? I don't know if this is Todd's inking. It's just a weird look because it's very inconsistent in this book. So the coloring in this book I think is fine, but overall, that bit kind of is weird to me. So they're fighting. They're going to keep fighting. They get blasted by a gun. It's this Quartermain dude. He's like, yo, you got to cut this shit out. And Wolverine's like, you know what? We got to. I thought I was beyond the berserker. Turns out I still am. Hulk's like, fuck you, bruh. I've kicked your ass. And he just leaves, and they go off. And then we get a little tease of it was Betty whining about the Hulk the entire time. Like anybody cares. But that is what happens in the Incredible Hulk 340. Most people buy this book. It has value because of the cover. But the story in it is... Story's okay, but the fight is pretty dope. Let's look at the artwork by Todd McFarlane. You can tell when he wants to draw something when he doesn't. He doesn't want to draw this. He wants to draw Hulk there. The detail. At this time in Marvel Comics, everything kind of looked the same, and it was the standard Jim Shooter dictated kind of era at Marvel. Todd was coming in Hulk and really kind of adding in these extra lines of detail and density that really popped and worked that a lot of Marvel comic fans weren't expecting at the time. So you can tell that some of the stuff is okay, and Todd McFarlane has obviously evolved into an even better artist, but there was something captivating at this time. Certain pages are a little droll, a little lag, but then when you get to the action, Todd knows how to sell it. 100%. Even the leader, I love the look of the leader here. This is when he had a bigger head, or a more wide head, a more butt head, I should say. And Todd really captures that pretty well. This is actually earlier in his run on Hulk. He was there for a little bit, but this is, I think, within like the first maybe, 8 issues or so that he did. But I think his run on Hulk is super solid. The way he draws Hulk here is cool. I love the way he draws Wolverine once he's got his mask on. But like I said, I don't know if it's because he didn't ink it dark on the fin mask parts, and then he does here. But like Wolverine looks so much better when the coloring is more black on that fin mask rather than that, which looks a little bit odd and almost European. Like he looks more like the Badger than Wolverine in those bits. And it does seem like the coloring is a little bit weird, but I don't know if it's the inking or a deliberate choice in the color. But the posing, the sequence of events, the action, the fight, it's all there. And especially for 1988, 1987, this is what you want to see. It's a brutal fight. It gets down to the nitty gritty. Hulk looks great in his giant Frankenstein monster McFarlane type way. And Wolverine looks cool. It's just that coloring does kind of get to me, y'all. It really does. But it's just an excuse for a big battle. Not much else really going on in the story, but it works for that. And most people get this for the artwork on the cover, but the artwork inside is definitely worth it. Now, obviously, we're reading this because it's part of my Wolverine omnibus. However, I have this issue. I just recently picked this up like a few weeks ago. So I actually have this issue. I was super excited, because the omnibus does the thing where it uses the colors, but the colors were meant to be printed on newsprint, so it doesn't quite capture certain nuanced elements of what the color is supposed to be doing, and it feels a little bit too bold and at times garish on the reprints. So I was very excited to get this and be able to read it. This is a decent reader's copy of Incredible Hulk 340, but that's how I like them. Artwork works. The coloring really works on this. This is that newsprint. There's a certain way that ink is supposed to absorb onto the page. Look at that Captain Power ad. I love that shit. I have a Captain Power bit. But Todd McFarlane's artwork is the reason why this works. It is a Hulk Wolverine fight. It is a weird choice, though, with the way that they decided. And I don't know, like, if anybody knows more about this, I would love to see, because I would assume that most of the blacks we see on the page, I would always assume that they're inked in. That may not be the case here, but if it is, maybe like Todd didn't ink the black on the fins there, and he didn't ink it as much as, say, he did this. But it's weird to have like that on one page and then that on the other. I prefer this as opposed to that. Y'all get what I'm saying, right? There's a great Konami Nintendo ad right there. But really cool to have this book. It's a must in any Marvel fan collection. If you're a Wolverine fan, if you're a Hulk fan, first of all, the Peter David run is amazing. I want to collect all the Peter David run. What I've read of it, I really enjoy. It's a legendary run. This is the most expensive book in the run. So just find a beater copy. It's still too expensive, but it will get you through. And I'm glad that that's what I have. A lot of these are getting slabbed up nowadays. The more that get slabbed, the more difficult it's going to be to find in the wild with a copy you can flip through and read. And I've always loved those Chips Ahoy ads. So I like the book. Overall, I would give it a good 4 out of 5 you digs. Just really solid Hulk Wolverine fight. Peter David stuff sometimes can lean too much into trying to build a complex story and not really being able to, he lets this just do what it's supposed to do. And I really think it excels for that. So overall, I love it. I think it's a great book. Glad it's in my collection. Glad I have an actual issue to flip through and I don't have to read the omnibus this week. But more Wolverine as we approach. More Marvel in the 80s and Marvel in the 90s. Lots more stuff planned. But that was today's bit of Marvel in the 80s.